Listen to the quiet machinery happening inside your chest. There's a drum that never clocks out, a tide that never rests, and a whisper of air moving in and out like the world's smallest door swinging open, then closed. Most days, that door is on autopilot. You never notice the hinge. But tonight, I want to show you what happens when you step inside and become the doorman. There is a moment so slight it feels like the hesitation between two heartbeats, when the inhale has not yet decided to become the exhale. If you are able to rest your attention there without impatience, the ordinary world tilts. Most people rush past that scene the way travelers rush past small towns on a train, assuming the scenery is only backdrop. But the pause, like the town, is the whole reason the journey is possible. Here's the strange truth. Your next inhale is already on its way, about 6 seconds from now. Yet the way you meet it can rewrite chemistry, electricity, even the odds of what shows up in your life tomorrow. And it doesn't take a mountain retreat, a guru, or 20 spare minutes you don't have. It takes one ordinary breath observed like it's the most important thing happening on the planet, because for those 6 seconds, it is. Let me prove it to you. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. The light is red, your phone just buzzed with a deadline, and your shoulders have crept up to your ears like they're trying to whisper secrets to your earlobes. Instead of white-knuckling the steering wheel, you do something almost laughably small. You breathe in through the nose for a silent count of 4. Let the ribs widen like the horizon at sunrise. Then pause. Not to hold, but to listen, a single heartbeat echoing in the stillness. And finally, you exhale for 6, as if you're blowing cool air across hot soup. That's it. By the time the light turns green, your heart has sent a smoother sine wave signal through every cell in your body. Your brain, once crackling with cortisol like a radio stuck between stations, slips into a slower alpha rhythm. And here's the part that sounds like science fiction. The electromagnetic field your heart projects, measurable up to 3 feet away, has just gone from static to symphony. The people in the car beside you can't name the change, but they feel it. So do you. You pull forward calmer, clearer, and whether you realize it or not, luckier, because coherent people make better decisions, and better decisions bend reality in their favor. When the heart and lungs fall into a slow, even rhythm, the nervous system takes off its armor. Blood pressure drops, cortisol ebbs. The prefrontal cortex, your inner librarian, returns to its desk and begins shelving the day's chaos. All of this begins with a sigh you choose to notice. Now, I know half of you are already thinking, sounds great, but I've tried box breathing, 4-7-8, Wim Hof, apps that ding at 3 p.m., and none of it stuck. Here's the difference. Every technique you've met so far asked you to control the breath. We're going to do the opposite. We're going to let the breath control you, the way a river rewrites the banks it touches. The moment you try to do breathing, the breath slips away like a cat that refuses to be picked up. The secret is to stop doing and start witnessing. Think of the breath as a shy guest who will only speak when no one is trying to interview it. Sit quietly, let the inhale arrive on its own schedule, and you will feel the precise instant the diaphragm lowers like a drawbridge. I once taught this to a man who wore anxiety like a winter coat in July. He said, I tried meditation apps, I counted, I visualized, I even bought a bracelet that buzzed every hour to remind me to breathe. He laughed the way people laugh when the joke is on them. I told him to forget all of it. Instead, the next time he found himself at a red light, he was simply to notice the exact temperature of the air entering his nostrils. Cool on the way in, warmer on the way out. Nothing more. A week later, he wrote to say the light had changed inside the car before it changed on the street. He could hear the indicator click, but he was already somewhere downstream of the intersection, watching his own impatience float past like debris after a storm. That's what happens when you stop trying to meditate and start learning to notice. So let me give you something ridiculously simple that you can hide inside a grocery line, a Zoom call, or the 30 seconds your laptop takes to update. I call it the 5-step loop, and it starts with quiet. First, quiet. Notice one inhale arrive, like a tide that has never missed an appointment with the shore. Don't force it, don't judge it, just let it show up the way morning shows up, inevitable and unhurried. Second, center. Linger in the pocket of stillness at the top, no agenda, just the faint thud of pulse. There is a pause between the finish of the inhale and the start of the exhale. It has no name in English, so I'll borrow from the Greeks, who called it a pake, a suspension, a hovering. In that hovering, the nervous system drops its story about who you were 5 minutes ago. The bloodstream forgets the argument you had at breakfast. The pupils soften. Third, observe. Feel the subtle vibration in your fingertips, the way the air feels cooler on the way out, the exact temperature of air entering your nostrils. If you are patient, you may also feel the faintest flutter at the bridge of the nose, a soft percussion in the ribs, the cool ribbon of air curling into the throat. These are not sensations to collect, they are invitations to disappear inside them. Fourth, resonate. On the exhale, let one word ride the wave: gratitude, curiosity, or the outcome you want to magnetize. Let the exhale leave a space so clean that tomorrow's worry cannot find a place to land. Fifth, extend. Carry the residue into the very next action, the sentence you type, the smile you offer, the red light you greet with patience instead of profanity. Do this 20 times a day, once for every 1,000 breaths you are going to waste anyway, and the math becomes absurd. 360 coherent breaths per day. By week's end, your heart rate variability tracker shows a spike so steep your phone graphs it like a ski jump. By month's end, your friends start saying, "You seem different, lighter." You are. Because coherent hearts broadcast coherent signals, and coherent signals attract coherent events. That's not mysticism, that's biophysics wearing a poet's coat. The Egyptians knew this mathematics. In the papyrus of Ani, they painted the dead with their mouths open, believing the last exhale was not an ending, but a dispatch, a letter the soul would read on its way home. They called the breath sechem, literally power, but the kind of power that shapes rather than conquers. Imagine a potter's thumb pressing clay. That is how the Egyptians saw each inhale pressing possibility into form. Thousands of years ago, yogis in the Indus Valley spoke of prana, the life force running through every living thing. Different culture, same discovery. They understood something we're just rediscovering today. Now we have microscopes and MRIs, so we've given it new names. Heart rate variability, baroreflex sensitivity, vagal tone. The instruments are new, but what they're measuring isn't. When someone tells you breath work is just woo-woo, show them a heart rate monitor. One deep, intentional breath changes the readout from chaotic spikes to smooth, rolling waves. That's not placebo. That's your nervous system responding to a signal it recognizes. But here's what your mind will tell you. I don't have time for this. Meanwhile, you're already taking 22,000 breaths today anyway. You might as well make some of them count. One conscious breath cycle takes 6 seconds total. 4 counts in, pause for 2, 6 counts out. That's less time than it takes to check a notification. You can attach it to things you already do. Waiting for your coffee to brew, sitting at a red light, the moment you notice your reflection in a window. If you're worried about remembering, tie it to a sound. Your alarm going off, the microwave beeping, your dog barking. Let these everyday moments become your cues. You'll start noticing the world is actually full of reminders. Some people think they're too busy or too practical for breathing exercises. But remember, even Archimedes said, "Give me a lever and a place to stand, and I'll move the world." Your breath is the lever. The pause between breaths is where you stand. Here's what breath doesn't do. It doesn't magically erase problems. What it does is change how solid those problems feel. The deadline is still there, but now it feels manageable instead of overwhelming. The stress is still real, but it becomes something you can work with instead of something that controls you. I've watched stockbrokers, surgeons, and single mothers use this same 6-second pattern to steady themselves when everything felt chaotic. I've seen a teenager about to lose his temper take 2 deep breaths and just calm down. I've been with a woman in labor who used her breath to ride through contractions, not because she wasn't afraid, but because she found something steady in the center of the intensity. When you start practicing this, you might notice small changes. Waiting in line doesn't irritate you as much. That annoying sound your neighbor makes seems less bothersome. Emails you've been avoiding suddenly feel manageable. These aren't miracles. This is just what happens when your nervous system isn't constantly on high alert. Getting into this rhythm isn't the end goal, it's the starting point. Once your internal state stabilizes, other things become possible. Clarity, patience, ideas that seemed stuck suddenly flow. There will be days when your mind resists. This is too simple, I'm doing it wrong, nothing's changing. On those days, remember that each conscious breath is expanding your capacity just a little bit. Over time, those small expansions add up to something significant. Some traditions talk about breath control extending life. Maybe it does, but I think of it more as expanding life, making each moment feel more spacious, more workable. So here's what I want you to try. It's almost impossibly simple. Next time your phone buzzes, don't grab it immediately. Take 1 breath first. 4 counts in, pause for 2, 6 counts out. While you exhale, think, I choose what happens next. Then check your phone and notice how that feels different. And if you ever wonder if this small practice really matters, I'll leave you with this story. A man sat with his dying father in the hospital. The room smelled of antiseptic and flowers. Machines beeped steadily. His father's breathing was shallow, labored. The son placed his hand on his father's chest and simply breathed with him, matching that fragile rhythm. He wasn't trying to fix anything or make anything happen. He just breathed together with the man who had given him life. Gradually, the beeping slowed. His father's face relaxed into an expression of peace the son hadn't seen in years. When the final breath came, it was so gentle it seemed to expand beyond the room, including them both. Even in the end, breath connects us. So start now, not after this video ends. Start with the next breath that's already coming. Let it expand your ribs like sunlight spreading across water. Let that brief pause hold you steady. And if you notice that traffic moves a little smoother, conversations end a little more kindly, sunsets seem to last a moment longer, don't call it coincidence. Call it the result of finally taking time to breathe. 6 seconds, 1 breath, a different way of being, starting right now. Keep breathing. The world responds to that kind of presence.